Hey, welcome. Welcome to a really dangerous and also in my perception, a safe space. I have a lot of stories about commitment, and my stories are that commitment is boring and safe, and that every time I commit to something, it will somehow make my world smaller because I'm digging deeper into the sort of a hole of my commitment, and that everything gets smaller. And I hate this story because there's some part of me, my being, I suppose, that sees something else, that there's something else other than commitment is not just doing the same thing over and over again every day until I can't stand doing it anymore. And this could be my relationship, this could be my commitment to my work, my commitment to my village, to learning a new skill, to creating something. So commitment applies in so many realms of life. And there's also a a way in which the commitments that I commit to, I there's a lot that I'm already committed to every day, and I might not see it, that I am unconsciously committed to. And some signifiers of things that I am committed to would be something like, what am I committed to creating every day? And I can look at the feedback that I have in my life around me and see, am I committed to creating low drama? Am I committed to wasting my time scrolling on social media? Am I committed to things staying the same? Am I committed to playing small? So those are some potentially unconscious commitments. And then there might be really conscious commitments, like I am committed to choosing my partner again and again each day. I'm committed to the game world that I am creating. So and I am committed to the transformational work that evolves my being. So the landscape of commitment is large, and here today I want to explore with you both the unconscious and the conscious commitments, and get a sense of what's in the way of shifting into what my being longs for most. What does my being really want to create? Now, there's there's another element, and it's that this is the trickiest part, which is where the unconscious and the conscious commitment meet. And so where I have found that these two meet is when I am pursuing a fake commitment. So a fake commitment is something that comes from an external reference point. So it's something that I'm forcing myself to do because I think it would be good to do it, or because I should do it, or because there's some voice in my head that's not my own voice, or at least my being's voice saying, I should really commit to this. And so it's so easy to get burnt out, to get exhausted, or even resentful, because I think, well, I really should create a training. I really should build a business or a growness. I really should be partners with this person because it would be good for me. I really should fix myself so that way I'm worthy of being with this partner. I really should exercise because it's good to take care of my body. I really should eat salads because it's good to take care of my body. I really should go to Rage Club because I don't have enough rage online. So this fake commitment, it's like grasping for something outside of myself. to then force it upon myself to motivate me to go stay committed to that thing. And I'm expanding way beyond the sphere of what is actually real for me. What am I hungering for? What are these natural impulses that are real in the now that actually make me want to go and sustain going for something? And there's even something when I said the word sustain going for something, it's even like commitment should look like I do the same thing every day. It's like, what are the stories or the fantasies that I have about what commitment should even look like? That commitment has a particular shape and form. And so because there's three of us here, I want to dive in quickly and just start researching together. So the first thing I want to look at with the two of you, with the three of us, is what are your stories about commitment? Like, what is your sort of fantasy? Like in your fantasy world, if you were the most committed person, if you were doing commitment right, if you were the perfect example of a committed person, what would the qualities, the shape, the logistics of that commitment be? You can jump in when you have something.
Well, I think in my case, it will be like the examples you already were speaking about. Like I would go to the gym consistently. I would eat healthy consistently. I would um, like have 5 kids already because I'm really sure about it, having a family, and I would my house would be clean and nice all the time because I commit to yeah to a lifestyle that I would like to have, like clean and healthy. And yeah, that was like my first thought that came up.
And I want to dig into one thing that you said. The first couple things that you mentioned, you said you would do it consistently.
Mhm.
What do you mean by consistently?
Consistently would be, I guess, every day. Sounds to do something every day and not just when I feel like it, or when I realize, oh shit, I kind of I was slacking again, and now I have to keep up again. I would do it because I am committed to something that I envision myself to be. So showing up every day, even though I might not feel like it, or something might be more important, but I'm committed to doing these things every day because these are my priorities.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So I heard something like no, you're committed to doing it every day because there's something that you envision yourself to be and not because you have to.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Some of my stories around commitment, I'm noticing a few. One is that story that it's more committed, it's more important why I'm making a commitment than what I'm committing to. I have a fear. It's like a fear story that if I make a commitment, and this might be emotional, if I make a commitment, there's a story that I must follow through with it in order to be in integrity with my commitment with my original word, even if things change for me. Um, and and then there's like a distress of then I might feel trapped by my commitment, and so I've and so that can lead to like an avoidance of commitment and a fear of feeling like trapped within the commitment that like I must keep. a commitment, or I should keep a commitment once I make it, even if circumstances change. And then I also have a story of like commitment. It's like almost like an opposite story to that, where of commitment is freedom, because when you commit to something, you eliminate the other options, and then there's a freedom in that because there's not a moment to moment choosing. And saying that, that actually even feels more constricting, because what like feels most liberating for me is a commitment that comes more from my heart, from my being, and in that it's a moment to moment choosing, a moment to moment commitment to something that feels, it feels very authentic and aligned, and so when I guess the story then would be that I'm seeing is like a story of when I'm committed to something from my heart, from a place of um, more of my being, more authenticity, then there isn't the uh, then there's consistency in that, and there isn't like the commitment is stronger. It's strong.
Mm-hmm. And when you said this thing of, so I heard a lot of clarity when you shared, and when you said this thing about I have to stay committed to what I committed to stay in integrity, even if my circumstances change. What would happen if you changed your mind?
Mm. So within that story, if I change my mind, then I'm out of integrity. And what I see is that what that does is I give my authority to that commitment. And then my authority is no longer in myself and what is true for me right now. And so it's like I give away then my power to choose to that commitment. Once I make that choice, and that choice is forever the choice, and then I become a victim of that commitment. And then I feel trapped. And then I feel like I'm trapped. And that's the dynamic that has played out in my life in the past, like within me. And so I recognize that story, and and then when I feel trapped, I feel guilty for making a different choice and a different decision. And so part of my process has been like taking, like really like centering in my authority to choose in each moment. And and that commitment comes from a place of now rather than perhaps where I was before. And um, and I noticed like some fear also of inconsistency in that, like that there could then be some inconsistency. And so integrity, there's something around it. There's a piece around integrity for me there.
Yes. Yeah, I
What
hear.
is
Go ahead.
And I guess the piece that like what is integrity? Like is integrity being like true to myself right now? Like that's what integrity is. Whereas before I had a story that integrity is remaining consistent to my commitment, the commitments I've made, the choices I've made in the past. And so my story around commitment is tied to like integrity as
Mhm.
well. But like, what does that mean to be in integrity?
That's a great question. What does it mean to be in integrity? And I wanna, there's something about this, which is so integrity is when what is inside of you matches the actions outside. When your words match your actions, there's no separation between what is real and authentically happening inside, and often driven by your natural impulses, your natural resources, the longings of your beings, your feelings, these impulses. And so when there's a separation, that's when the emotions come in, because there's things like doubt or question. So I want to start to pull apart what is it that keeps me in or out of integrity or alignment with with the choices that I'm making in the small now, in this moment to moment basis. And I want to bring in the other distinctions of I have impulses all the time that come from different parts of my being. And so, or rather different parts within me. So there's my being that has clarity about what it really wants in the small now. And that might also extend over time consistently into many small nows. And then there's impulses, for example, the gremlin might come in. My gremlin might come in and say, hey, I don't really feel like doing this today. Or, hey, this is starting to get scary. I'm going to get, I'm going to be very visible with my commitment now. And it might start to have resistance, like, maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too ridiculous. Maybe it'll cost too much money. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe, all these reasons that the gremlin might come up with. And so there's those impulses also that will try to somehow sabotage the commitment. And so I want to get clear on or explore, investigate what is the difference between the impulse between my being and another impulse that's trying to block that. Because, for example, I have an example. So I might have a commitment that, yeah, I wanna move my body every day because I care about my body. It's part of me. It's not separate from me. We're in collaboration and I love it. And so if I say, okay, every day it's important for me to move my body. And then let's say one day I have a really busy day and I go to sleep really late and I wake up the next day and I say, you know what? Not today. I don't feel like moving my body today, but I'm exhausted and I'm listening to my body, and my body might say, I don't know about it today. How do I know if I have this resistance where my body is tired and wants rest, and also I have this other commitment? How do I keep myself in integrity with my bigger ongoing commitment without sacrificing perhaps another commitment that I have, which is to listen to my body? Another example might be, actually, yeah, maybe I'll give it to you. If you have an example of something maybe that you're committed to, whether it's every day or every week or just one time, what is something that blocks you? Like, what do you find blocks you from pursuing or continuing with that commitment?
Something that I have a commitment to now is a commitment to creating space for myself every day to be. And that commitment is important to me because for so many years, um, I was committed to productivity above everything else. And that's how I measured, that's how I felt a sense of like fulfillment and value. And what I didn't realize was what I was numb to was how that was affecting my own well-being, and in that I was in a program, like in running through program, operating through program, old story, old uh, wounding, really, essentially. And so it's important for me now to give myself space to be every day. And so something that like resistance that comes up has to do with that old um, program story of productivity and so if there's a lot to do, then I feel resistance to giving myself the space that I feel committed to and really truly want. Because it's like, well, I can do that. I can do that tomorrow. I can give myself more space tomorrow. And now there are other things that must take priority. And so for me, it it uh it's like it has to do with time also, um and like the story of not enough time is resistance. And I've noticed with other times that the resistance feels like fear. um and with this it feels like it's like an old uh there's like almost like this pressure, like this sense of urgency, um is what that resistance to my commitment feels like.
And
Like it's like a survival story.
yeah, and what happens in you? Like if you could check it out for a second, what happens in you when you say, okay, I'm gonna have space for myself today, and then okay, now I have this competing, story coming up. Well, there's not enough time. Then what? What happens?
Mm. It's like the question of like what is most urgent and important right now, and there, and I think that's how I then make a choice, is what is most urgent and important right now, and um, and then mm, not connected so much to the resistance right now, so I don't know that I'm fully feeling it.
Okay. I wanna I wanna read something briefly, which is that you said, is it urgent or important? And I'm going to read a quote from a website that I've been studying about commitment. And I will share it with you after. And I noticed I felt this hit of anger. I felt anger when you said, is it urgent or important? Because I heard that you have this commitment already, this pre-existing commitment that is so important to you to learn to be, because you're healing from some kind of, these are my words, an addiction to productivity and programming to prioritize productivity. I deeply resonate with this because I'm actually doing a similar experiment at the moment. And and it sounds like this is important to you. This healing is important to you. And then the question of, is it urgent or not? There's a million things that could be urgent. There's so many things that could be urgent, paying the bills, getting to the appointment, scheduling something, eating the food, responding to messages, there's infinite things that you could qualify as urgent. And unless there's, sort of a life or death situation, what else is more urgent than you are healing from productivity? And I actually see how those things could even, those two could competing commitments could be in direct conflict with one another, in the sense that I'm healing from productivity, but I need to check, is there something else that's urgent that needs to get done? And so I want to read this quote, which is something, yeah, I'm going to read it. So it says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, that ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamed would have come their way. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. This is inspired by Wolfgang Goethe. Yeah. And so I read this because it might be so unreasonable for you to say that above everything else right now, there is nothing else, aside from life or death situation, there is nothing else that is more urgent or more important than you healing from productivity. And yet there's all these things that can seep in. Well, but what about needing to do that? And what about this other commitment? And what about being a good friend? And what about being a good daughter? And what about being a good partner? And what about performing? And what about all these other things that could come in and question it? And so I want to know, what does it take? What level, what kind of access to unreasonable commitment is needed? So there's no question. There's no negotiation about that thing that your being is so committed to, and to get the clarity when your being says, enough, it's something else now, to be able to change your mind because circumstances have changed. Maybe the shape of your being has changed because you did the experiment at some point, and now it's time for it to change. So there's all of these sort of massively big yet subtle underlying competitions with commitment that can take us away from it, or that kick off again a fake commitment to begin with, or you become out of integrity with your being because the shape of your being or circumstances have changed, and you still need to continue with your originally authentic commitment, but now it becomes a fake commitment because you should still keep doing it.
There's something to like coherence of like all five bodies being committed, because I've noticed that if I'm committed, like if I one of the ways I can tell, like, you asked a question in there, I don't remember the exact question, but it brought me to, like, how does it feel? Like, how do I know that I'm like truly committing from my being, like that this is a commitment from my being? And for me, it's a feeling, and I realize that it's like it feels energetic. I feel it in my heart. It's like there's full alignment and full coherence within all of my bodies within that commitment. And that's when I don't experience hesitation, because there's everything is aligned in that yes, this is the direction, this is the choice right now, this is like how do we make that choice, and and that's how I can best describe my experience right now.
Thank you. Nelly.
I would like to call out Blue, because I've been realizing I think for a bit now I've been realizing that I've been in my own thoughts and not really paying attention fully, because I've been realizing that my body is like really cramping up my stomach. There's a big like anger and fear, something growing when I think of commitment. And I just realized I know this feeling, and I can't really say that I've ever committed fully to something. I have this feeling of I don't really know what it is, because I know fake commitment very well, and I know I should do this, and somebody expect this from me, and yeah, and the true commitment of something that I really want feels, I don't know if I think I've probably experienced, but I just can't get into it right now, and I feel like it's very scary, and it just gives me a cramp in my stomach right away, and I know this feeling. So yeah, I just wanted to share that real quick because I've been feeling this and trying to feel it more, and I'm trying to get back to the conversation. But
Thank you, Nelly. You've provided the next doorway. This is great. So I want to dig in about this because what I was hearing Jordan say was about this full 5-body alignment. There's like a go, like on all systems go. And it's so clear. It makes sense. It doesn't even make sense. It's just it's like it sounds like it's a set of feelings and a knowing. And Nelly, you're having a set of feelings about this right now. And so there's some kind of a block or a resistance, an emotion. And I know, and there's even the sensation you said in your stomach, you have this knot. And so I I want to dig a little deeper with you, Nelly, because I think there's gold for all of us here and whoever else might be watching this about what you said you think fake commitment, you've never really fully committed to anything. And my invitation for you is to actually go connect deeply into this sensation in your stomach, this knot. And you're gonna let that part speak and say what it has to say. And with the anger, with the fear, and they might be emotions, it might be a little messy, but this might be really how it goes for people, for some people, many people. Will you try it?
yes.
So yeah, drop down, connect with your belly, this knot, like that maybe you've never really committed to anything.
Um,
Actually, you can talk directly to it and say, hey, knot or stomach, what do you have to say?
mm, um, what do you have to tell me? I feel the knot says, if we commit to this, we don't have time for anything else. Well, we have to commit to that and to the other thing also, because there's so many things to do. And if you commit to this, you cannot do all the other things that you want to do, and there's no time, and we're gonna die soon. So this is all the time we have, and you're gonna limit yourself if you commit to one thing.
Yes. And stay there and slow down to half speed where you are now. And you said there's no time. You're going to limit yourself. There's all these other things that need to get done before I die. And slow down even more, connect with the fear in your belly and ask it, is there anything else that it has to say? And really let yourself feel the fear.
Is this really what we want to do? Hmm. Time is running out. This is unsafe, scary,
Unsafe because
because we have to keep our options open to survive. What if this goes wrong? And then we will be doomed.
yes,
Dead.
dead. Okay, thank you. You could take a deep breath, come back slowly. Thank you, Nelly, for going there. And you have a lot of gold. And I know these fears well also, especially I need to keep my options open to survive. I can't put all my eggs in one basket. And also this thing of there's not enough time. And you both mentioned that, actually. You both mentioned something, it's a time thing. So I want to check out with you. What are you currently, this will be sort of an exercise, which is what are you currently committed to spending your time on? What, like, where do you commit your time right now? And I propose that we all share for 2 minutes, and I'll put the timer on just in the group. And it's really like, what are the things that the days of your life are going by? What are you spending your time on? What do you fill your time with? Actually, I'll make it 3 minutes each. Yeah. Who will go first? I'll go.
I will go.
I go.
Go, Jen.
You can go, Jordan.
Okay.
All right. Whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
I spend a good amount of my time sleeping at night, so I'm committed to rest and getting sleep. I spend my time making food and eating and nourishing myself. I spend a lot of my time working on Rumble, my company, the company that I've built, and I spend a lot of time doing emails and meetings and sales meetings and checking in on my team and I that's a big commitment that I have, is to Rumble. And I feel some anger about that. I feel some anger. There's some conflict there for me in that commitment. And so that's a trailhead for more exploration for me. I'm committed to my relationship with John and spending time with him when we are not physically together, spending time on the phone and reading together. I'm committed to like my own like inspiration, reading things, listening to things that inspire me, and also like that happens through social media as well. Sometimes I would say at least once a day. So I'm committed to looking at video or things that people have written, people who inspire me, and I'm committed to like like reading. I spend my time reading. I spend my time spending time with family, my sister, and my cats, and playing with my cats. And I have a commitment to taking care of them and playing with them. And I spend I spend my time doing that. And I'm committed to creating like space. I create space for myself every day to sit, to be, ideally in nature at times, and when not in nature, I just create that space. And there's like a process that happens for me within that of it's like really meaningful and connected for me. And so I spend my time yeah, also. Else. I just feel like those are the big things in my life. Um,
Time, perfect timing. Perfect timing. So I thank you, Jordan. And I want to, before we go to the next person, there's some interesting things that were happening while you were sharing. So one, I was really glad because right before you said it, I was like, we should kind of check out what sensation happens when you talk about each of the things that you spend your time on. That would be really interesting. And then you started to get it. You said there was some anger in this conflict about your commitment to, you said it right after emails and sales meetings for work. And I don't know if it was everything in general or just those two, but that's when this anger started to come up about it. And then I heard when you were talking about cats, you had this really visible joy coming up on your face. It was really this like aliveness in this in the realm of joy. And then the rest of the things you said very neutrally. And I'm curious about the neutrality of them because I wonder about the neutrality. Is the neutrality a sense of, because again, I mentioned this word aliveness. And when you're really committed to something that your being is committed to, it brings you alive. It's like this driving force. Like I'm so turned on about it. This is like something that I love or that I care about. And doesn't necessarily mean it's only going to be fun or joyful, but it's like it brings this sense of aliveness. Like you feel something about it. It might even be heartbreaking, but there's this aliveness. And so for the things that you mentioned that were neutral, my question is, are they alive for you? Do you feel alive, or are they somehow becoming a habit more than a commitment? Have you fallen asleep about some of them? Are they shoulds, like it would be good, I do this to be a good person, or I do this to, because, like where is the aliveness in those? Or is it something like, it's just so clear, like it's like this low intensity, maybe, anger or joy about them, and it's more subtle, like it's just so obvious, like of course that's what I do. And so can you sense about those ones that were more neutral, about you sleep, you eat, you work on your company, you have your relationship with John, you read, you get inspiration, space to be in nature. All of those were sort of neutral when you spoke about them.
yeah, and some of um, it feels like it's just obvious. It is. And I like sleep, for example. That's just I sleep, and I don't feel a lot of I like it was obvious when some like feeling bubbled out that like, oh, I have like a strong like, there's a strong feeling there or emotion with Rumble, and then with the cats there was that joy. Um and what came to me when you asked that question is that it was almost more of an intellectual exercise for me of like, how do I spend my time, and therefore what am I committed to? and and when I was speaking, I wasn't so connected unless it was something really strong like Rumble or the cats. I wasn't so connected to the feeling of the like the feeling of it, like with my relationship with John, like I can talk, like there's so much that I can share about that, that is just like there's a lot of joy and a lot of like excitement um and and I think that it was more of an intellectual exercise. And give me feedback if I'm not, yeah, give me I'm open to like beeps or feedback.
Yeah, it's more just curiosity. I'm just curious, and I don't want to make stories like, everything in life, you have to be 100%, mad, sad, glad, or scared about it. And rather, it was just interesting. There was a contrast between certain things, and maybe it's just today, a certain thing pulls on your strings today, and tomorrow it's something else. And it was just, yeah, interesting. And so what I'd love to do, if you would, and then I'll also go. Um, Nelly, would you go next? And when you go, I want to evolve this from just an intellectual exercise to a five body exercise. We're evolving in real time. So, uh, so Nelly, would you really tap into the five bodies and go through and go slow, and just say like, okay, I spend my time doing this, and just each thing that you say, just kind of be with what arises. You don't have to force anything, you don't have to analyze anything, just sort of be with your five bodies with each thing as you mentioned that you spend your time on it.
Mhm.
Whenever you're ready.
Um, I am committed to working in the garden. I spend a lot of time there. Feel that that's the person I want to be. Brings me joy, but it also brings me a bit of anger because it's a lot of work for not much results in the beginning, and no income. So it kind of like brings me anger that I'm wasting time. But I'm committed to building something, and yeah, showing up for this project that we decided to do here on our land, with the idea that it's going to be something big, but yeah, it brings me fear that I'm wasting time, but it's also a bigger vision somehow. So kind of the archetype that I want to be, the nature person, the person's creating. I spend time committing to my relationship. That brings me joy, and
You don't have to say it out loud. Like if it brings, say the
okay,
you with the feeling without naming.
yeah. I spend time creating a nice life together. I spend time just with the people that I'm living with. I spend a lot of time cleaning, or yeah, cleaning up after myself, trying to clean up mess I made or other people made. I spend time, yeah, with my dogs, or the dog that like my boyfriend's dog that I'm educating. I'm committed to that. I'm committed to music, although I'm actually not really committed to it because it's something I do, and I want to do, but it's not really something I commit daily to. I should, but it's actually the thing I love the most, but I don't do it. and I'm committed to, yeah, being a good partner and being a good person around the households and a nice person.
That's time.
Okay.
Thank you, Nelly.
Mm.
Okay. Wow, there's so much information that comes through in each of these shares, and I'm excited to go as well. And I want to share a couple things that I noticed, which was you have a really big it came up again, this theme of wasting time and time. And um and then when you said something about showing up for this project, and also about, yeah, that you have this archetype that you want to be.
Mm.
And I got this hit of something like, what's real about that? And to unfold that question a little more, it's like you are already something. You are what you are. Your being has whatever its natural longings are. Your box has its skill sets that exist already, and you already are. And so in striving for some archetype that you want to be and showing up for this project, it's like as if it's outside of you. There's like a separation between you and this thing that you want to be. And so I'm curious, what is real about that commitment?
Well, I just got the idea that I don't trust in myself that I am really capable of doing these things. So I envision like it's like this imposter thing.
Mm.
This idea of, okay, yeah, other people do this, but not me. I'm actually not capable of these things and of really, yeah. So I don't know what's real, to be honest.
Yeah. So one thing I hear that's real is that you have an emotion about it, that other people do it but not me. And can you sense which feeling that is when you were saying that? Like other people, I don't know if I trust in myself that I'm capable, that other people do it.
Fear,
Hmm.
yeah, sadness also.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are real, these emotions that perhaps block you from that commitment, from really committing to it. And you might write that down to investigate the sadness and the fear about, other people do it, and I don't believe that I'm capable of doing it. And then there's another side of this that I want to look at, which I kind of I got clarity about this a couple months ago. And it was something like are organically things that arrive on my plate, like jobs or things to take care of. So it's like there's things that are already in my box. There are things that are already in my box. It's like they're already there. It's like they're somehow calcified or solidified in my box. And that's just, it's like kind of in the past. It's already there. And then in the now, new things will arrive in their organic, natural timing. It's like when, for example, I'm having issues with my partner. For this is a real example. Like if things are working with my partner and I have this really on like long-standing thing about jealousy that has showed up with many different partners. And recently it came to a head because it was just like nagging at me again. And it was so clear that this issue was coming to a head that I have to make some commitment to really look at it and be with it and evolve my relationship with it. Otherwise it will ruin my relating space. And so this commitment, or this sort of job to do, this thing to look at, has organically arrived on my plate. And it doesn't always have to necessarily come through a space of conflict or an issue. For example, it could be like when someone's, I keep using the example of relationships, but if you've been single for a long time and you want to, you're finally ready to be with that next person, and then they arrive in the time that they arrive. They don't arrive when you say, I want them to arrive now. They arrive when you're organically ready to receive them. And so there's something about when I am with and I address the jobs or the callings that are organically arriving on my plate, that's being in alignment with what's real for me, what is real. And then there's this list of 20 million other things that I could also do that are sort of in the future. They're in the future outside of the now. And those things in the future are not real because they're not now. They're things that I could strive to be. They're things that I could aspire to be. They're things that would be good to do to take care of. I could go buy that land. I could go take care of, I could go, I don't know, take this course to go become a herbalist. I could go, I'll just list off my list of 20 things. I could go create an animated TV series for adults. I could go be and become an herbalist. I could go learn how to build earth ships. I could go learn to, I could space hold for, a massive retreat. There's all these other things that I could do. But there's a sensation of like grasping because they're not here yet. They are not real yet for me. They're not organically here now. And there's a sensation that I experience that is different when it's like a grasping for something in the future versus a thing that's like real in the now. And a commitment happens in the small now. So when you're talking about this archetype that you want to be, about this project, the question I have is, what is real for you in the now about that? So again, one thing real for you in the now about that are the emotions that are blocking you from that. And so let's say you go handle those emotions, you do an emotional healing process, and then you see, okay, or rather you use them for healing. And then, okay, now what else? You have more clarity in the now. What else is real for you now about your commitment to this project? Because this archetype that you want to become is something in the future. You're separate from it. It's not now. And I wonder, is there a fantasy? Is there a striving? Is there this thing that's not authentic? And again, there might be parts that are and parts that are not. So what are the and the closer to the now reality you can get with your commitment to this project, then you can have more it's like, yeah, this internal motivation, this internal flow, like, yeah, okay, I need to work with my hands. I need to work with my hands. Or I want to be in more connection with my body, or I am stepping into, I have some necessity to embody some archetype, but not one that's some fantasy in the future.
Mhm.
What are you with about that right now, Nelly?
It's kind of working its way to me understanding that kind of, I feel a sense of joy because there's a way of me feeling happier about what I'm doing and more fulfilled and more committed. That's what I get from what you were saying, and I'm kind of soaking it in right now, and yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Cool. Okay, I have one more thing. I sense you're a little bit full right now, like you're absorbing this. And the other thing that I heard you talk about was the music. And you said you're committed to making music and that you want to do it and that you love it the most. You said you love it the most and you don't really do it. You didn't say that about any other thing on your list. It's the only thing that you said that you love the most, and it's the only thing you said you don't really do. And that really struck me.
Feel sad.
Yeah, because
Because I give priority to uh, everything else, and I leave the things that I love the most for when I have time, kind of like Jordan with the self, with the time for her. Like sometimes there's a lot of times where I feel like everything else is more important than what I really want to do, what I really feel I want to do.
yes, and thank you for sharing that. And there's a map about this, and it's about what is it's this urgent. Can you see my screen?
No,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. I'm gonna deliver a little map right now because it's coming up. So, okay, so 1 and then 2. Okay, so this is called I don't know what the formal map of it is called, but it's an urgency versus importance map. So, you're gonna have important and urgent. So, and that means anything that is down here is not urgent. Oops. And then anything over here is not important. So okay, oh cool, you can be here too. Great. So are each of you able to put text on here, or I'm only presenting?
I think I can add text.
Okay. I invite each of us to put one thing in each quadrant right now. So just drop something in there and I think you get it. So what's something that's urgent and not important, and the rest. So take a couple minutes to collaboratively do this. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up in a moment. Put in your final texts.
Difficulties finding something that is urgent and not important.
Okay, great. So we made a shared map of things that are urgent and not important. Or urgent and important and not urgent, not important. So I want to sort of see the themes that come up here. So we're going to start at what's not important and not urgent. So watching videos, crafting, social media. So these are things that are that I would say if they're not important, it's like they don't really matter to you. They just it's not something that's important to you. It's like a low priority. And it's also not urgent. It doesn't need to get done. There's sort of no time pressure. And so these are the type of things that you want to reduce doing as much as possible. If it's not important to you and it's not urgent, why are you spending your time on this? Why would you spend your time on something that is not important to you and it's not time sensitive? So I'm putting a red here. It's like, we don't want to spend so much time on those things. Now, on the other end of the spectrum is what is urgent and what is important. So these are things like watering the garden, feeding the cats, delivering a workshop proposal. So these are things that are time sensitive and that you really care about. Like they matter to you. It's important that it gets done and it has time sensitive. So these are the things that would be really that would be some kind of a priority for you because you care about it. And then over here, what's not important and what is urgent. So it's things that don't really matter to you, but they're things that have some kind of time sensitivity. And so these things like cleaning the floor, taking clothes out of the washing machine to dry, or the laundry, which I would say are a lot of things that are kind of like, well, it's all about cleaning and logistics here. It's really interesting. It's kind of middle world. And so these things are sort of like, okay, somebody needs to, it needs to get taken care of, but it's not meaningful to you. And so these are the things that would also, you'd want to kind of not like almost try to outsource or minimize your time spent on those things. Like those are not the things that you really want to spend your time on. If they're not really important to you, if they don't add value to your life, if they're not meaningful to you, how can you reduce your time on them? How can you be more efficient with it or outsource it or not spend your time on those things? And then the things down here that are not urgent, they are not time sensitive. They're not time sensitive, but they are really important to you, like singing and voice activation work, moving my body, dance, running, meditation, and singing. These are things that are so archetypal. They're part of your being that they long for. Things that maybe are evolving who you are or expanding your field or like kind of unfolding yourself. these are the things that you're probably not prioritizing. I can speak for myself. I wrote the singing and voice activation work. I still haven't done it, and I keep kind of reaching out to get it done, but it's been sort of being kicked down the road for weeks and months because it's something that I long to do, but it's not time sensitive. It's this thing about time again, because it's not urgent. And yet these are the things that are important for me. And it might also be in things like this, like spending quality time with people you love, or traveling, or all this other stuff. So how can you create more spaciousness for these things that are not, they're not time sensitive, but they're important? And it's because a lot of the things that are urgent and all the rest of these things kind of can end up taking precedence. But I would venture as far to say to drop as much as possible. Like, why would you spend your time doing things that are not important to you and are not time sensitive? Why on earth would you spend your life doing those things? And that's a place to look at, what is a time suck? What is taking away from my time? Because it is true. There are only 24 hours in a day. And every time I commit to something, like I think you said at some point, Nelly, in other words, every time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. And every time I say no to something, I say yes to something else. And that's again about commitment. What am I committed to? So every time I'm saying yes to everything that's not important and not urgent, every time I focus on that, I'm saying no to things that are important to me. So I wanted to bring this map in here to look at the things that are part of your being are going to live a lot in the territory of what's important to you. What you care about, what matters to you, what is meaningful to you. How can you bring more things of importance to the forefront to commit to? And then the things that are urgent, it's like, okay, it needs to get taken care of. That's logistics. Okay, so that gets taken care of next. And how can you reduce as much as possible the things, yeah, that are not important? Okay. I'm going to, yeah, go. Do you have something?
That just hit me really. I mean, obviously scrolling social media is also something I do, which is not urgent and not important. And with the things I said before, that I am scared of losing time and wasting time, I am actually deciding on wasting time. I'm committing. That's crazy. That just hit me. Okay.
Great. Yes. So I want to go, and then I want to, yeah, talk about an experiment as a takeaway. So I'm going to stop presenting this now. And so, okay. Having two pathways to go down right now. So I will go. I would like to reveal myself because you both have revealed yourselves about how you spend your time. So I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes, and I invite you both to scan me and notice anything about what I share. And I will go now. I am committed to spending my time being, and I spend a lot of time, yeah, being, like not doing, not being productive, creating open space where nothing is happening. I'm committed to that right now. I'm committed to analyzing. I live in my head a lot and I like have ruminating thoughts for as long as I can remember. And I spend a lot of time like just ruminating and analyzing things, and I hate it. And I am committed to spending time with my partner, and we have a lot of fun together, and and create things and go on adventures, and I really love it. And I'm committed to I spend my time on kind of ongoingly, semi-regularly moving my body. It's important for me to do that, and I kind of been dropping it recently because I'm seeking this internal motivation to do it. But yeah, to get out for a walk or do a HIIT workout or do yoga or swim or do something. And I've been, yeah, more inconsistent with that really recently, and I feel sad about that. Mm. Committed to food. I spent a lot of time cooking or going out to eat or thinking about food. I'm committed to a lot to do about food. Committed to sex. I also and making love. That's something that I enjoy doing, and I feel fear about it sometimes, like it's indulgent or something, but I, I enjoy it. It's something that I enjoy. I'm committed to being in contact with my friends, colleagues, family, like just kind of in my village. It's important to me for me to stay in contact. I'm also committed to some kind of anxiety, like that I'm never doing enough of being in contact with those people and wondering if, I'm enough or I'm, missing out on something. And, there's some kind of that thing going on. I spend time on that. And I'm committed to, yeah, like learning, like learning, like holding spaces like this or showing up to other ones, or yeah, just like kind of experiential learning and researching together. And that's time. So thank you. I'll share that I noticed for me, and if you have any things to offer, go for it. I noticed that I it's like I feel like there's a lot in my life that I feel alive and joyful about these days. And at the same time, it's like the sort of analyzing um and anxiety and FOMO, like it's just I hate it, and there's so much fear, and it's just I'm angry about it. It's just like this time suck. I just see so much time draining and energy draining about this like world in my mental body that is just, on overdrive so often. And I just, yeah, I waste so much time there. Yeah.
I actually felt when you were saying that there was some sadness coming up when you said that you were a lot ruminating.
Because
I just felt that you had this wave of sadness there. I didn't feel like anger or something coming up. It was like you kind of like your
mm,
shoulders dropped a little bit and you're like,
mm, mhm,
mm.
mm, thank you. Okay, we have a few more moments, and I want to check something out. So I had a really great conversation with with my partner and a friend the other day about commitment. And one of the two of them was sharing that they got this they were interested in coming to this space and they had something else to do. So they were committed to something else other than being here. And and in actually that particular commitment, it was that they got a possibility from a friend of their own, which was to experiment with having only 3 things that he's committed to every day. Only 3 things. And you could adjust the number. It could be only 2 things, could be 4 things. But I was really struck by it because it was, for example, he said, so if I'm committed to writing my book every day, that's already one thing that he's committed to every day for however long he's committed to that. So if he wants to join a space like this, and then if he also is committed to doing, a sadness club, he's full for the day. That's it. He's already filled up. You can fill up your commitment so quickly. And there was something that was coming about short-term versus ongoing commitments. Something might come up like my friend needs help and I want to be there for my friend, moving. And so now I'm, if I'm writing my book and I'm helping my friend moving, there's one other thing I could be committed to that day. And so my invitation is to explore what are 3 things that you are committed to every day. You can wake up in the morning and check, like, what are the 3 things I'm committed to today? And whether it's a short-term commitment, whether it's a long-term ongoing commitment, and challenge yourself to stick with the 3. Because again, when you say yes to those things, you're saying no to a bunch of other things. And then you're also saying yes to those things. And then see how it shifts or impacts your relationship to the things on this urgency and importance map. If you're committed above all to these 3 things today, are you going to still make time for what's not urgent and what's not important? Are you going to make time for the things that are most important to you, that are not urgent, that you care about and you love the most? What are you going to be committed to today? So the invitation is to try for 1 week this experiment of 3 commitments a day. It doesn't mean you don't do anything else. So for example, Jordan, your 3 things might include creating space for yourself. That was the first thing I heard you were most committed to in a day, regardless of what else is happening, regardless of how busy the day is. And then whatever your other 2 things are. So I invite you to check that out. And there's so much more actually that I want to share, say, and explore with you. And so I feel scared to say that I'm committed to holding another space to further explore this because there's a bunch of other things that there wasn't even time to get into, and experiments and questions. And so I'm committed to holding another space, and I'm really glad being with the 2 of you. I felt like the 3 of us collectively, like really started to get, a full scope of a territory of commitment in a way, like how it is for people. So thank you both for coming. And I hope to see you at another one. And I wish you well with your commitments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.